And now it's time for Hobo Reviews with Willie B.A. Hobo. Tonight's review, Moneyball. Oh my god, this is the best movie I've ever seen in my whole life! You're out with spoilers! There's this guy named Billy Bean, also known as Billy Boy, who is the general manager for the Oakland Athletics. And they just came off a wonderful 2001 season, which wasn't as good as the Seattle Mariners' 116-win campaign, but you get the idea. Anywho, they pushed the Yankees to a 2-0 deficit going home, and they fucked up. And Billy B takes losing very, very seriously, So seriously, he chucks just about everything and destroys just about everything. He hates losing that badly. And seeing as how they're gonna lose, Jason Giambi to the Yankees, Johnny Damon to the Red Sox, and Jason Isringhausen to, well, they never mention it, but we know that he went to the Cardinals. He has to try and rebuild the team so that they can get back at it in 2002. So he devises a theory where we will not pay a shit ton of money for a bunch of Top Gun athletes. Instead, we're going to pay a bunch of guys for what they're worth and see if they're worth wins. Because we're going to pay them based on wins, not by statistical numbers. Although technically they're doing this based off of statistical numbers. He hires this Yale grad named Peter, who currently works for the Cleveland Indians, That's very offensive to Indians. And takes him away from Mark Shapiro. He becomes the assistant general manager to the general manager, which happens to be Billy Bean. Billy Boy! Those two are going to formulate this theory and try and turn the A's into a winner with their minimum salary. Because you know them. They're a low market team compared to those bastards, the Yankees. And so they get a bunch of free agents, led by David Justice, who ironically burned the Athletics as a Yankee. But the Yankees said, "You're not worth our time. Get out of here." Oh, by the way, they also lost Scott Brosius and Paul O'Neill due to retirement. But yeah, Oakland grabbed him. And what do? They get off to a shitty start. That's because the manager, because there's a general manager and then there's a manager, is not pleased with what the GM, Billy Bean, is doing. So he decides to use the lineup that he has and turn that talent into winners. The problem is it's not producing wins. It's producing a shit ton of losses and a really pissed off Billy Bean. The turning point of this movie is when he's walking away and people are asking him questions saying, "How can you handle this team? What's going on?" And meanwhile, Billy Bean hears music in the background. He then goes to the clubhouse and he sees his beloved Athletics celebrating another loss. What does he do then? He chucks a bat at the radio. He doesn't like losing so much, he will chuck anything. And he gets to the team. He finally gets the manager to say, "You know what? Do this stinking lineup the way I want it, or you're fired, and then I'm going to take the fall with you. And if I'm going down, I'm taking the manager with me." "Well, I refuse to." "Well, you're a stubborn asshole then." Finally, they decide to do the lineup in the way that Billy Bean wants it, and guess what happens? Oakland starts to win a shit ton of games. They go from 20-26 to almost at 500 to over 500 to closing the gap on first place to taking over first place. And then they go on a 20-game winning streak towards the end of the season, which pretty much clinches the AL West for them. And the penultimate, actually the climactic moment, is the game where they set the American League record for the longest winning streak in the American League. They have an 11-0 lead on the Royals. Billy Bean is driving around. His daughter then calls him and says, "Daddy, you gotta turn around, you gotta turn around. You're not gonna drink the team." "What did I tell you about wearing all that stuff?" By the way, he plays a magnificent dad in the scenes where he's with the daughter. But she's like, "Turn around, turn around." Then when he flips on the radio and sees that Oakland's up 11-0, he's like, "Fuck it, I'll turn around and I'll witness the streak in person." Problem is when he comes around, Oakland blows the lead and they end up in a tie with the Kansas City Royals. who were pathetic back then, but recently just won a World Series. Screw the fucking Royals. The Twins are an adorable team. Anyway, so the Royals tying up, and so guess who has to come to the plate to try and be a hero? Heineberg, otherwise known as the first baseman that Billy Bean made first baseman to replace Jeremy Giambi. He comes in a pinch hitting situation, and what does he do? He built the walk-off homer. Oakland wins their 20th game in a row, and Billy Bean is excited in the gym, in the locker room area, because he doesn't like watching the baseball games. So, he then discusses with Peter, this streak is great, but what I really want to do is I want to make something out of this. I want to make the title worth something. And by doing that, we will have proven that with our low budget, we can compete and beat the likes of the Yankees and win a World Series. So what do? They end up matching the Yankees for wins that season. They go back to the ALDS. They are once again in a Game 5 situation, only this time with the Cinderella Minnesota Twins. And my beloved Twins won! Hooray! Then we get to the end of the movie, where Boston is interested in hiring Mr. Willie B.A. as their general manager, so that way they can use his theory in order to end the curse of the Bambino. Billy Bean decides otherwise. He's driving along, he listens to his daughter singing, which, by the way, his daughter's a magnificent singer, and that persuades him to stick with Oakland so that he can be with his daughter. Unfortunately, 2 years after this 2002 season happened, the Red Sox ended the curse by using the same theory that Billy Bean did. Oakland would never get close again. Well, actually, they did get close. They ended up making it to the ALCS in 2006, but that's as close as they've gotten. And that's pretty much the movie. I, for one, loved this movie, and if you don't think this is the greatest of all time, it certainly should be amongst them. This is Willie B.A. Hobo saying, charge! You got charge! Come on up and go, will you? Come on, charge! Come on! I promise our money will go towards the Oakland Athletics so that way they can have as much money as the Yankees! So that they can beat them for once!